All right, it's just about 9 a.m. now, so we're going to get started with our first session of the event, and that's going to be David Musgrave of Winthrop Development Consultants is going to talk to us a little bit about GP Power Tools and add-ons. So, David, take it away.
All right, I think I'm unmuted. You can hear me, Thomas?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me share my screen. So, good evening from down under. It's just hit 10 o'clock in the evening for me. And okay, can we see GP?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Well, technology is working our way. So, let me. I'll start with a little bit of PowerPoint to give you a bit of an introduction. Okay, so we're going to be talking about GP Power Tools, which is a product developed by Winthrop Development Consultants. A little bit about me. I am the owner. I'm a Microsoft Dynamics GP MVP, and I am also a GPUG All-Star. I've been in the GP world a long time, since version 2 in 1994. We actually looked at version 1, but decided not to get involved straight away, but then did later. And I'm based in Perth, Western Australia. So GP Power Tools was originally created by myself when I worked for Microsoft as the support debugging tool. You might have heard of it by that name. When I left Microsoft, I was able to get the rights to it and rebranded and re-released it in 2015. It's available for all versions from 2010 onwards to the current versions. It's currently broken down into 3 modules, being the administrator tools, developer tools, and database tools. There's also a system features module, which is required, and basically you have to have that for any of the others to work. This is a quick summary of what's in the administrator tools, but to make it easy, it's anything that makes GP easier to use from the user's perspective, or easier to administer from the administrator's perspective. That includes debugging, as well as a whole lot of usability enhancements, particularly things like security as well. I'll be showing you some of those, so don't worry too much if you didn't get a chance to read all of that. The developer tools includes the ability to create scripts and trigger them from within inside GP using various methods. You can code using either Dexterity, SQL, C# or VB.NET. It has the ability to create custom report writer functions, custom service-based web calls, web service calls, custom URL drillbacks. We've got a whole load of different functionality. It is basically a very powerful development environment within GP that does not require any external tools, does not require updating, does not require deployment. So it's a very powerful way of customizing, particularly replacing VBA. And then database tools is tools for the database administrator to help make their lives easier, including the database validation tool, which ensures that everything that Dynamics GP says should be in the system is correctly in SQL. Also, the ability to update logins and in bulk and change passwords. Importing and exporting data. There's a suite of functions available to make the administrator, DBA's job much easier. System features give you things such as capturing logs with a single click. So if you've ever been asked to capture logs, you'll find this a lot easier. Capturing screenshots, sending emails, and changing some of the common Dex.ini settings. Features are broken up into standard mode features, which are user features. Basically, they're safe for any user to run. And then the administrator or advanced mode features, which possibly give access to scripting or to the data. and those are all protected both by application security and Sql security, as well as if you've got it turned on, you could have a system or a GP Power Tools administrator password. Installation, basically it has to be installed on every workstation or server where GP itself is installed. That's the only way you're going to get the full functionality across the entire system. So we get to the fun part, a bit of demo. What I might do is, so that I don't necessarily have to come back to the PowerPoint, I'm going to skip forward and just give you a bit of an idea of the pricing. So the system module is $100 per year for an annual subscription. Each of the modules are $400, so the entire suite is $1,300 for the year. And basically, if you want to, customers can download it, install it, activate a 30-day trial, and have a play with it. So now the other thing is you might want to subscribe to my blog, because I've got lots of really cool things, not just about my products, but other things as well, about GP and sometimes fun things. So let's get started. So if you're looking sort of from a support perspective, one of the things that is very likely to happen is that you're going to have some sort of problem, and you're going to get asked to provide screenshots. And the normal method that people would use for that would be to use the snipping tool, maybe open up the each window, bring it to the front, grab a copy of it with the snipping tool, cut and paste it into a document or into Word, an email or something, and work your way through that. Or if you've got GP Power Tools, you can just say, capture the screenshots from any window. It'll list the open windows, and you can just say, email those. If the administrator email is already in the system, it'll automatically send it to that person. So I'm just, okay, let me find where it ended up. There it is there. And you'll see that I have all of those screenshots attached. I also have a copy of the system summary report, which is also in the body of the email. I have the dynamics.set file attached, the system and user level dex.ini files. And if we open up the system summary, you'll see that this gives you all of the information about your system. So we can tell what version you're running, what your registration details are, what modules you have registered. We can tell the information about your environment, your SQL Server version and ODBC version, the databases that you're currently in, then the Dexterity runtime and some of the Dexterity settings, what customizations you have installed, what add-ins are installed, what time processes are running, then it goes through each of the dictionaries. It gives you the version of the dictionary, the paths for application forms reports, as well as any of the DLLs, and tells you whether it can find them or not. And that goes through for all of the products that you have installed. And then finally, a list of the attachments and telling you exactly which window they are, with its technical and display names, and whether or not it's an original window or an alternate window, or maybe even a modified window. So all of that was with a single click, and it can be sent without it coming up in Outlook. I actually asked it to allow me to pause at this point and show it to you. So basically, that's how easy it is to capture your screenshots. Now, the other thing that you might be asked for is to capture logs. And let's say you've got some sort of problem and it happens when you save. The normal process is going to be, the old process would be that you'd have to go exit GP, you'd have to modify the launch file, the dynamics, the dex.ini file, you'd change the SQL logging settings, you'd come back in, The problem probably doesn't occur anymore because since you logged out and logged back in, you've reset everything. And you have to get back to where you were, which will capture a whole load of junk before you actually got to where you want. And then when you exit, you're going to be capturing a lot more information. And to be honest, you've only captured the Sql log, which is one of the 5 logs that PowerTools will capture just by saying, start logging, do what I want to do, stop logging. And I can now email that, and I've now got the macro recording of what the user interface actions. I have the Dex script log, which is actually the log of every single script that is called with its parameters. The Dex profile, which is a list of the scripts that were called with how long each script took, how many times it was called, which tables were touched, and the timings on all of those tables. This profile is awesome if you're trying to troubleshoot performance issues, because it can narrow down exactly which script is causing the performance issue. We have the Dex Sql log that you're used to, which is the communication between Dexterity and Sql. But that only shows, what commands were called at the Sql level. It doesn't show any of those commands actually working. And so that's where the Sql Trace comes in. This is a Sql Trace captured for the current user, which shows everything that's actually updating at the Sql level. So all 5 of these logs get you right from the user interface all the way through to the database. And they were captured with a single click, and they are targeted specifically at the starting and stopping when I wanted, and I didn't have to change any dex.ini settings. I didn't have to exit. Because I'm not changing any dex.ini settings, I'm not capturing logs from other users on a terminal server. It is just this user. It is exactly the information I need with nothing else. And again, that can be emailed. So that's sort of probably the 2 of the major features of the system module. Now, what I'm going to do is I'll start another instance of GP. And this will give you, I'm going to log in, David. And I'm going to log in now. There's a few things that I'll point out as we go through that GP PowerTools are doing for us. So GP PowerTools is allowing me to order the list of the companies. I can either choose an indexed order, or I can actually write a custom order. So I can actually just move my test companies down to the bottom. I don't have to go and put Zs in front of them. I can just change them to wherever I want them to be. It's also prefixing the database names to it. I can put them at the end if I wanted as well. It's made the entire drop-down list wider, so I can see when I've got a really long field company name. And when I log in, okay, so it's doing a few different things. I'm thinking I missed one thing. I did. It should have happened already. Okay, so this message, the testing company, that is standard GP behavior, but PowerTools makes it very easy to do. You might have noticed the green color as well, which is PowerTools changing the background colors for the test company so that I know exactly that I'm in the test company. So what I'm going to do very quickly is I'm going to actually exit, reset something here so I can just show you the last thing that you didn't see. So actually, while we're here, you'll see that there's a window on the right-hand side, which allows me to put in an email address for each of my users if I wanted to. And there's a whole load of other custom settings that I can store, and user-defined settings that I can store against a user that's with PowerTools. And why that is useful is that when I reset passwords, it will actually send emails to that user with their new password. Now, the reason I wanted to reset the password, and I'm going to just launch GP again, is, okay, in fact, an email's just come in. Let's see if I can pull it up. And there it is. So I got a reset password email. So it's telling me that I've got a new password and what my password is. And you can then change your password and it will reset it on, you can make it reset on next login. So now the reason I wanted to do that is I should now get this extra message that we missed out on earlier, telling me that my password is due to expire, which will only do once per day. So, and it's not going to do it. Okay, oh, that's a different one. I will get you that message later, but basically, when you log in and your password is due to expire, it will tell you that this password is due to expire, so you don't end up with your password expiring mid-session, because that causes all kinds of trouble. So, all right, so let me go into sales transaction entry. You can straight away see I've got a number of visual cues telling me on my test company. One is on my toolbar or the window toolbar titles. It tells me what company and user I'm in. This is customizable for whatever you like to do. I know that GP puts it at the end, but this puts it at the beginning. And when you're looking actually in your sessions, you can see the beginning in your windows. You can't actually see the end. So this puts it where you can see it. So I straight away know which window belongs to which session of GP. Now, if you've got security problems and you open a window, you're likely to get a message along the lines of, you don't have security privileges to open a window. Because I've got GP Power Tools installed, it's actually telling me exactly which window I'm being denied access to. So straight away, it's telling me that this is the create return window in the field service dictionary. But I've also got Power Tools told to open the security profiler automatically, and I've educated my users that if the profiler pops up and tells them that they've been denied access, that they need to export either to an email or file the settings, or sorry, the log from here, and then let me know. So then I can come in on my system and go into the security profiler, and I can import in the log that they just created. And so now I can actually see the security denied to field service create return. I can see exactly the same error that they had for same users and the same company. So I can now go to security and say, show me the security information for this. And on this window, so one of the cool things about Power Tools is it remembers size and state of window and has a splitter that works for most of its windows. So here you'll see it's telling me that for David, there's no access granted. And you can see the checkbox here is not selected, so there's no access there. So how do I give him access? Well, if I open the system level, I could make him a power user. Well, that's not going to happen. There's also a super user, which is created automatically by GP Power Tools, which is a user that has access to everything. It's better than a power user because a power user completely bypasses the security model. It basically says you've got access and I don't even care to even look at the security tables. When a super user gives you access to everything, and the advantage there is that it can be audited. Okay, so if you got this, if I give them access to the TRX FSS RTO1 task, which I can do by giving them access to either the RT agent or RT manager role, they will get access to this window. So if I double click on David, I can come down here and say, I'm going to make you an RT agent, save it. I can refresh this to see, and you'll see now it says there's a tick here, it says access is granted to the original. I can then email the user back and say, try again. And when they try again, it'll work. Now, if you've changed security on something that is on the menus and you need it to refresh the menus, instead of having to ask them to log out again and log back in, you can actually come up here and just say refresh the application navigation on their system, and they can do that without having to log out, and it will refresh the menus and it will now be visible. So let's close that. All right, I don't think we need David anymore. I'm going to double click on this and remove RT agent so my next demo doesn't mess up. Okay, so basically, that get just a quick glance at how easy it is to fix security. Now, I can also get information. For example, this is showing me exactly what tasks and roles are linked to a particular user. But if I want to, if my auditor is interested and says what, what information or what um, uh, Windows reports do do they get access to by being on a particular task, I can just click on the task, it'll show me. If I click on the role, it'll show me everything that they get for that role. And if I click on the user, it'll show me everything that they get for that user. And once this is finished loading, I could then export this as a comma tab delimited, and there we go, it's finished. So I can then export it out to a file or email and get that to my auditor, and they can actually look at exactly what the user has access to. Okay, so now another situation that you might have come across is if you've got two users that have the same tasks and roles, and you need to deny something from one user without having to change the other user. So I want to take one thing away from the one user without affecting anyone else. And the only way to do that in current GP would be to duplicate all of the tasks and roles that gave that person access and create duplicate tasks and roles which don't give them access and assign those to the user instead. But over time, you're going to end up with lots and lots of duplicate tasks and roles with no easy way of knowing what's different on them. And what was a nice security model has become a nightmare again. So the problem is that unlike Windows or SQL, GP only has a grant layer. It doesn't have a deny layer. So GP Power Tools will give you that deny layer. So I can go into the enhanced security window and I can say, let's say if we're looking for David, I can come in through the menus and I can go to cards, sales, customers, and I can see David currently has access to the customer maintenance window in the two different companies, and now he doesn't. And if I show the security for that, go back here, you'll see it says access is denied by deny-based security. So even though he's been given access by task and role, the deny-based security layer on top is denied him access. And this doesn't just work for Windows, it can work for other things as well. For example, I know that David's really bad at doing returns, so I'm just going to take away returns from David as well. So the other thing it can do is not just deny access, but there are some things inside GP which cannot be removed from the menus by removing security because the windows themselves are exempt from security. And a good example is the setup checklist one. While you can get rid of all of the access of the items on the checklist, you can't hide the checklist window. But with GP Power Tools, I can actually say, please hide it. So now if I want to have a look at what has been hidden and what's been denied, I can actually just come in and open up the hidden and denied windows. And I can, if I want to, go to all users, all companies, and I can see all of the things that have been denied, and it will show me who they've been denied for and which company, and which ones have been hidden. So if I need to get a list of this, again, I can export this out and provide that to an auditor if I need to. Now, I'm just going to mark all and delete the records so that my next demo works. Mark all and delete, and you'll see automatically the access back for David has been given back to the original window there. So, but all of that means that I can make changes to security. I can use roles and tasks to grant, and then I can fine tune with deny-based security. Okay. So another thing that a lot of people have to deal with is user license management. So making sure that you've got the right number of users for your system and that you're using those users in the most efficient way possible. So we can have our system log our users. So if we go and say all companies, okay, so this here is which the different companies and who's logged into each one. This is capturing statistics. So at the moment, this is capturing how many times they've logged in to the different companies, and it captures the last 3 times that they've logged in and how long they were logged in for. It also has these auto fields, which are statistics for the automatic log off functionality. Now, if I click on details, I can actually see the exact details of each login and log out. So if you want to actually capture that information, you can capture details as well as the statistics, or just the statistics if you wish. And this is the more useful one. Is now I don't have many users in my system, but I can get the graph of exactly how many users have been logged in, the maximum number of users for each day. And if I click on a particular day, it'll show me who was logged in at that time. So this way I can actually see exactly what my license usage is, and know when I'm peaking. You'll probably find that you peak around the end of month procedure time. And probably drop down to low on weekends. So this allows me to really understand exactly who's logging in, when they're logging in, and how many users are being logged in. So I mentioned the automatic log off functionality. So if I come in here, you'll see that I've got the automatic logout features here. I can set a number of minutes. I can control on a per user basis or per company basis. I can actually do this by users, companies, classes. I can even link it to the security aspects and control, if they have a certain role that they have, whether or not the feature is enabled or disabled for them. I've also got override levels, so I can actually have some users with a shorter level or some users with a higher timeout level. We've got the option that if your license count gets below a certain amount, that we can get more aggressive. And added into the latest build, which is soon to be released, is the ability to specify weekends and office hours. So you can actually say, well, I don't want the logouts to happen during the day because I'm not so worried about maximum number of users. I'm more worried about them not logging out at the end of the day and not being able to do maintenance. So you can then say, well, don't log out during the day, but only log out after hours and weekends. So it depends on what your requirement is. If you're trying to keep your user count down, you can do that. It has some smart features such as automatically saving windows, closing inquiry windows, and it can remove the activity record, which means that the user, even if it fails to log out, it actually will always do a safe logout. It is the equivalent of selecting file exit. It actually does file exit after processes, which is a Power Tools feature, which will make sure that any running processes are completed, and then it will try to exit. If it fails to exit, it can remove the activity record, which will allow that license to be used again. The user who has had the activity record removed can finish whatever they're doing, and then they get kicked out of GP and have to log back in. So the other thing that we do have is, and particularly if you've got multiple companies, you might find that your users log into multiple companies at the same time and start using up your licenses much quicker than you'd planned. So we have login limits where we can actually specify how many sessions each user is allowed to have, and we can specify a number of different settings. So we've got a maximum number of settings, but we can then, on a per user basis, if we want to, we can exempt them from that, or we can change the maximum sessions, or more interestingly, you can reserve a license. So I've got 20 licenses, but because I've reserved one, 19 are available for my general users, but I will always have one available for the DynSA user. This could be, always making sure the administrator or the financial controller has a login, regardless of what else is happening in the system. If you've got multiple companies and you've got like one big company, one small company, you can set a limit on the big company so that they can't use more than a certain number of licenses. So there's always a few licenses available for your smaller company. So yeah, you've got a lot of control, and you can set this all up in the login limits. So between those three features, you have got the chances are that you'll be able to buy Power Tools and save yourself the cost of buying more users. Okay, so another feature, and this comes back to its original use, another feature that GP Power Tools has is troubleshooting. And so what I want to do is show you the dictionary control functionality. So one of the things that you'll get asked quite often by support teams is, can you replicate the functionality that, this problem that you're having without any customizations, without any VBA, without any third-party products involved. So just to give you an idea here, if I open the lookup, this is actually a window in the smart list dictionary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable smart list. And we'll come down here. If I disable the triggers and reopen smart list, you'll see, oops, I didn't apply. Reopen smart list. You'll see it still opens the original window, but you'll see that the column names are not filled in properly, searching's not working. So basically the window is opening, but the triggers are turned off. And that's similar functionality that you can achieve with the customization status window. But this, we can take it a step further, is that we can actually say, well, I want you to disable the alternate windows as well. Now, this doesn't change security. This just says to the system, open the original window instead. So we can got the original window here. I can even ask it to leave the triggers enabled and apply that. And Power Tools actually, even though the security record is pointing at the alternate version, Power Tools is telling SmartList that the original version of the window is open and not to run its triggers. So if I turn this back on and apply, you'll see that everything's back. Now, another advantage of this is you can say disabled after login, and that will actually keep that product disabled, and that will affect other sessions as well, because when they log in, it will say this product has been disabled. If you want to use disable after login, you can specify for which users. So if you want to disable something, you can say, well, just disable it for me while I'm testing, and that way you don't affect other users. But you can leave it disabled. All right, so let's enable that again. We also have the ability here, if we wish to, is to disable VBA and Visual Studio Tools add-ins on the current workstation. These will need you to log in again for them to take effect, but all of the changes here, I can enable and disable these without having to exit and change my dynamics.set file. So from a troubleshooting perspective, I don't have to exit. If I'm on a terminal server, I'm not going to affect any other users if I just use the disabled, because that's all happening on this one session. Okay. So another issue or thing that you might have is something that's not reproducible, some sort of problem that you're getting that you can't replicate in any way. So the way that we can look at that is we can actually use triggers and capture events. And this is actually what GP Power Tools was originally created for. So I'm going to actually open up the resource information window. Now, if you open the resource information window first, it actually gives a better result than if you open it afterwards. And I'll show you that. Okay, bring this up and raise all windows. That's another GP Power Tools feature. Oh, we've had this window open. I'm just wondering, somewhere it might actually say when I open the customer lookup, there we go, it opened the original because of dictionary control. Okay, so if you look down here on the field information, as I tab through the customer maintenance window, you'll see that it's telling me exactly where I am and what the data is in that field. Now, if I want to find, let's say Bob Fitz, I can say, where's that data in the system? And I can go to the resource finder, but if I want to, I can also do it straight from the menu here. So the resource finder is similar to resource information, but instead of having to change modes to look at tables, this actually combines it all into the one window. So it is telling me straight away that the contact person field with the data Bob Fitz actually exists in both the customer master and the customer address table. And I can also say preview the data and execute a SQL query, and you can see here it's given me that Bob Fitz actually appears twice in the address table. So you can use the resource finder. If you want to know where any piece of information is, this is going to help you find it. It also can look for data, just if you've typed in a new customer ID or any data, you're looking for where a transaction appears, you can type in, find it, and it will search the entire database, every single field and every single column in every table, and find where that data exists. Okay, so I'm interested, and I've got a problem that my hold is being changed. I don't know why it's happening, so I'm going to use Power Tools to help me find this out. So the first thing I want to do is I wanted to know where the data is. So by clicking on that, I know it's the hold. I can say, which table is it in, and it's telling me it's in the RM Customer Master because that's the only table associated with on this form that has the field in it. So there's all of the tables, but only that one has the hold field. Okay, so now I know where the data is. I can create some triggers, and okay, so at the moment no triggers are running. I'm going to turn on the logging triggers. So I've got these triggers here, and these are going to look both on the window and in the table for changes to the hold value. So if we pull up customer again, and we pull up Aaron Fitz. Okay, so we've now got those triggers running. The system is actually logging what is happening in the system, so it's capturing all those logs that I could capture. So here I've got the debugger. I've asked it to actually put a message on the screen, so it's telling me that the value's changed. And now when I save, you'll see a whole load of things happen. It's going to capture screenshots and email the logs. So okay, so go over here. There's one, and there's the other. Okay, so this is the screenshots. So that's all the open windows and the system summary, everything that you saw before, emailed. And then the log here is saying that the trigger's fired. Tell me the user and the company. It's telling me that it's changed from 0 to 1. And it's then saved all the log files, including a dump of the records, so I can actually see the whole table record, and then it's emailed all of that to me as well. So in here, in the zip file, will be the logs that it's captured. So even though I know where they're stored on the server, I can go and get them from there, but I get them emailed to me directly. So all of that happened automatically. You don't have to let the user see any of it. You can have it all hidden if you wish. So now while that's really good, it does mean at the moment you can see the green lights are on. The logging, all 5 logs are being captured at the moment. So you might not want them captured all the time. I'll be honest, there is a performance hit. It's not that much, but there is a performance hit by running triggers all the time. So what you can do instead is you can make it a little bit smarter. And if I run, this is going to actually start a whole load of extra triggers that I don't necessarily need, but we'll start them all. So there's a whole load of examples and stuff hiding in here, but the one I'm in there is a different version of the customer hold one that I'm going to have to do this. Okay, so watch the red lights there. When I open the customer window, you'll see the logging starts and logging stops as soon as I close the window. So you can narrow it down and say, I know the problem happens when that window is open, so I only need to capture the logs while that window is open. All right, so that was done using the the developer tools and its scripting capabilities that were designed for debugging, but the scripting capabilities are also designed for a whole load of other purposes that you can use to make your system better. So let me just go back to here. I'm going to turn off the logs. Turn them off. Okay, so if we come down to projects, so the project allows me to combine together all the different aspects of a particular project that I'm working on. So there could be multiple triggers and scripts, and it all groups them together, and then I can import and export them as desired, including if there's modified windows or reports, they can be imported and exported with it. So now, one of the things that we can do is we can create self-service scripts. So if you've got some sort of script that you're likely to run on your system, something goes wrong, and you have to contact your DBA and say, oh, can you run this script for me to fix the problem XYZ again? What they can do is we can take that script and we can expose it and make it a self-service script, so you can do it yourself. So here is a simple script. Now this is this is SQL code, but you'll notice I've also used the dexterity names as well as the SQL names. So, I've got customer number there, but I've got RM customer master as the table name. When I execute this, oh, actually, I didn't show you this, but I have it linked to a parameter list, and the parameter list allows me to ask questions. I can ask up to 10 different questions with from and to values, so you can actually have the user specify things. So if I execute it, I'm asking for a range of customers, I hit OK, and you'll see that it converts all of the names into SQL names, it inserts the parameters, and here's my code. So this allows me now to, this is just a select statement, but you can have a full insert statements. You can make this as complex SQL code as you need to do whatever you want, delete statements, whatever's required, updates. So this here basically allows the code to run. However, you don't want your users being able to necessarily see or edit this code. So what you can do is you can mark this as published, and if you do publish it, you can actually specify which users to publish it to. You'll find this users button all the way through the system, and each time you've got the ability to choose by roles and class and by company or by user or combination thereof. Okay, so the publish script is over on the executor window. I can't see the script anymore, but I can execute it and I can see the results. So this means, I still have to go to this executor window, but it means that I can I can run it safely as an end user without seeing the script. But I can do better than that, is I can actually say, well, let's take that bit of code and I can execute that code from dexterity scripts. So this is executing it, and I execute it, and I get the results displayed in a result set here. And this is resizable, and it remembers its sizes as well. Okay, so that's well and good. I want to take it to the next level. So I'm going to open up customer maintenance, and I've asked it to have the query here with the dialog, and it now executes and it does whatever I ask it to do here. Now, I can also add go-tos to it. So I've actually got some go-tos here where if I double click on one of these, it will take me to that customer. Or I can say, I want to perform an action on this customer, that one, and I can say, okay, perform the action. At the moment, all it's doing is giving me the IDs, but you can make it do whatever actions you want. But I can also read the window. So I can say, okay, read the window and just get me the query for that one. So the way you could think about this is, if you've got some sort of problem with this customer, you go to the customer, you just go up here and say, fix it, and it will do it. So basically, you can make your users, empower your users to be able to run whatever scripts they need to be able to run as self-service scripts. Now, it doesn't have to be SQL scripts, but that's usually what the case is. So you can run whatever you want. You can also create very cool customizations. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go to, let's activate a couple of projects. So clear that. I'm going to activate two of these. One of them is a custom field. So start that project. The triggers are now running. And the other one is a lot of custom fields, which is this one. Okay. So this is on item maintenance. So now you've probably seen this little window coming up a few times, and I'm just clicking on it without telling you what's happening. So if you've got multiple versions of a window, instead of having to have different user IDs to be able to say, I want the project version or I want the original version, you can actually have, using a feature called dynamic product selections, go away, down here, dynamic product selection, you can actually have it ask at the time you open the window which version of the window you want to use. So this is now asking, do I want the original version or do I want the modified version? So if I open the original, this is the original version, and my customizations that I've just activated are not going to happen. But if I open the, oops, go back to raise all windows, come back here and I open up the modified version of the window, now my code is going to work. So what I've done is, this is a modifier added field that allows me to put in a web link. Now, this is just an example. I wanted something I could add as a field. So here it is. It has a button that will open a web page for me. So I just popped open the browser to my home page. And that just saves along with the record. So this is, instead of using, the data is actually being stored in the DOS in the same place that you'd store it if you were using VBA, but the code is all PowerTools code running on a modified window. Now, the thing is, you can get more complex than that, and you can take it to another level, which is what I did here, by adding 6 more categories. So instead of having a total of 6 categories, we've now got 12. And that is fully functional categories that you can choose, and everything else works. So that's just an example. We can make PowerTools do all kinds of things. I will actually go, and so there are some must-have examples. So I'm going to load up a couple of those for you. One of them is customer tracking. We've got customer and vendor tracking. Another one is the Sql Lookups. So let me just open those and start that one running as well. Okay, now on my system, I'm starting them manually. because I don't have them all running, but on your system, they'll start automatically when you log in. Okay, so if I go, let's say, to Sales Customer, and I type in, let's say, Rob, and press Tab, I'm getting a SQL results of everywhere it can find Rob. So it's got Roberta, Robert, and Robert Street. And if I say, well, I'm actually not quite sure if that's what I want, so let me go and look using customer addresses. And yeah, okay, it's this one that I was looking for. And I can pull up the record. Now, if I'm on a window that actually has an address field on it as well, I can actually say, do the by addresses, and it'll automatically load, let's say, this one, which is, and the billing. So it loads the customer and the ID for the address. So, now exactly what it searches on is a SQL query, and you can customize that to be whatever you want. You don't have to just use the example that I've put in here. These are projects, they're free for downloading on my the samples page on my blog, and you can just load them onto your system and do whatever you like in here. So another one is here. I can put in hello and save it. Okay, 1 second. I have not enabled it on this company. So let me just quickly customer tracking, and there is the table creation script, and execute that. And now we will do this again. Customer, pull that up. Okay, so I'm going to take the hello away, save that, pull up the customer again, and go to additional, say show me the change history, and you'll see that hello has gone to nothing. So basically, I can track the changes. It tells me exactly who did it, when they did it, what was changed, and you can customize exactly which fields have been looked at. So it doesn't look at everything. It looks at the fields that you've asked it to. And that is, again, a downloadable project that you can download. So let's just give you a bit of an idea of what the developer tools are capable of. Okay, so the next bit is database tools and the database validation tool. So this tool, the initial version of it was about 200 hours of work. And it was based on my experience as a Microsoft support engineer, dealing with support upgrades or upgrade cases, and knowing all the things that go wrong with upgrades, looking for them and fixing them automatically. So right now, my system's actually in good order. I'm going to run a script that is going to mess up my system. Okay. Do not run that at home. And you'll see now that I'm actually showing a whole load of errors. So this is just so I can demonstrate to you the things that we can fix. So if I click on Fix Users, it's straight away telling me that the DynSA login is missing. So it's asking for a password to create it, and that DynSA is not the owner of the databases, which it should be. So let's make it the owner. It's telling me that I've got references in my GP tables to a company called Test, but that doesn't exist in SQL. And this allows me to clean up all the references to it, like clear companies, but smarter. It's going to create the DynSA user in GP and make sure that they have access to all the companies. If there's something that's here and it's grayed out, it means that it's not needed. The action's not required. So I've got a whole load of users that exist in GP, but they're not in SQL, or they have a security mismatch within SQL. So this allows me to fix those. So I'm going to say I want to keep the lesson user, but I'm going to get rid of these test users. I'm going to email the password. I'm going to automatically generate enforcing password policies of expiration and next login. This is going to clean up any junk out of the company access. It's found that some of the users don't have access to Dyn group, so it'll fix that. It's found that some of the users don't have DBO as their schema, so it's going to fix that. And it will also create any missing database users. It's also got some options here, for example, fixing database users in additional databases. So if you've got an external database that is used by some sort of add-on, but your GP users need access to it, this can fix that for you as well. So I hit process and it will run through and fix everything. It's going to print off a report that contains the passwords it's generated. Did you notice that the window, it maximized and then came back to a size? PowerTools controls the size of this window so that it always remembers where it was. In the same way, it can remember any window in GP, size, state, and position. Okay, so we've now fixed the users. I'm going to go and fix utilities. So when you're doing an upgrade, it uses utilities tables, and if there's junk records in here, so we've got some records here that for products that don't exist or for databases that don't exist, this allows me to clean all of those records up so that the upgrade won't fail. Also allows me to check account framework issues. So this is showing me the account framework, both the maximum size and the currently used size. It's picked up that there's a problem in the Dynamics database, but the application and the companies match. So I'm going to make the Dynamics database match the rest of those, which is what this setting is suggesting. Just run that, and that'll fix that. So that's fixed all of the basic stuff. Now, if I go to fix tables, right now, this is blank. So what I need to do is I hit process, and it's now read every single table in the database and every single table in Dexterity, and it's identified which ones it's found in both. So you can see here, I've got a list of the tables that I found, and here, a list of the tables that I found. So just for speed, I'm only going to do Dynamics for now. So this is tables that exist in both Dexterity's definition for the table, so in the application, and then also in the SQL Server. By clicking Validate, it is now going to go and make sure that the structure of those databases tables actually matches what Dynamics says it should be. One of the big reasons that upgrades fail is that tables are not in the correct format at the beginning of your upgrade. So this here, now I can get a report, but I actually don't need it because I can see everything on the screen. So all of these tables have the correct structure. We have this one, which is an incorrect duplicate. So what that means is I found two table definitions for this one table. One of them was correct and one of them was wrong. So this one that's wrong is just marked as an incorrect duplicate and ignored. But these three, it's found problems with them. So if we go and look in here and we say show us the structure errors, and you'll see here that this particular table, Dexterity says it should be 61 characters, but SQL has only got 60, which actually means that if you put something in that extra character, you'll lose it. And this one, got some errors in here as well. So Dexterity says these should be 5, but SQL is 9 set aside for them. Okay, so if we then come to fixed tables, you'll see here that I've got the option to fix tables. Now, if there's data in them, or if there's no data in them, this will just drop and recreate the table. That's easy. I can just mark them and let it do it. If there is data in it, it will actually back up the table, drop it, recreate it, and put the data back. It's also highlighting that it's found a table that exists in SQL, but it doesn't exist in Dexterity. So it's just highlighting that I don't know what this table is and there's no data in it. Do you want me to remove it? So It's also noticed that there's some of the things don't belong to, some of the tables or procedures don't have dying group assigned. So this is like the grant SQL, it just runs it automatically. So I can run that and it will go and fix whatever I've asked it to fix. So when I exit, it will give me a report showing me all the things it's done. So there's a list of all the changes it has achieved. So that covers pretty well database validation. We've also got some Sql Login Maintenance, so I can actually, do bulk resets of passwords or changing policies. So I can come down and either reset the passwords or apply, password policy, or even do a changing of status, marking inactive or active. And you can do that on bulk. If you're sending emails, it does have the ability here for you to send the email and define the format. So this here, and this is on my blog, you can cut and paste this in. I'm actually putting in raw HTML that allows it to format it nicely, but you can also just put in plain text. But obviously the HTML looks much better. Okay, so a couple of other things that are in here, copying user settings. So this actually allows me to copy user settings, and it's actually identified, and this will work for third parties. So it's identified settings in the system database where there is a user column, and you can use this to transfer things that the normal GP functionality won't do. And trigger control allows us to see any of the custom triggers that you might have in the system that you might be able to identify don't belong to standard GP triggers. And if you click on them, you can see what the code is. You can enable and disable them. So if you start getting weird errors, you might find that you've got some custom trigger that a consultant's left there that's breaking a system. This allows you to find it really easily. So that pretty well covers most of it. I was going to just show you, if we go to purchase order entry and I reposition the window and resize it, close it, reopen it, you'll see that it automatically remembers size and state. That's the window position memory. If I make a window go off the screen, let's just open vendor, okay, and raise all windows. You'll notice, oops, where did the vendor one go? Vendor. Okay, so I'll put these off screen. As I click on it, you'll see them jump back onto the screen. So it'll make sure that windows never disappear. So you might have had problems where your note window disappears off the screen. It will not be possible for the note window to disappear off the screen anymore with Power Tools installed. It automatically makes sure that it comes back. So that's that's basically time to stop with the demo, unless you guys have got specific questions or would like to see some other bits.
Yes, if anybody has a question for David, if you guys just put your chat question in the window. This is Mike Grantowski. I'm the Client Success Manager at Turnkey Technologies. One of the questions were your screenshots, your PowerPoint, will they be made available in PDFs? This is to share with our audience.
The PowerPoint, I sent you guys a copy of that PowerPoint. So this PowerPoint you've got a copy of.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We will distribute that as well as the recordings next week.
So yeah, and if you all of the samples, the code samples I've shown are on my blog on the samples page. The downloads are on my website. You can download it, install it, and test it out. 30-day trial for free.
Dave, would you mind putting your blog address in the chat, please, so that they have access to it? Or is it? Oh, it is on your thing. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. That will get you to the blog. That will get you to the portal. And from the portal, you can get to the samples page and the video page. So see if I hyperlink to that. So this will take you to the portal page. And so now if you want to know more about Power Tools, even though you've just seen a lot of it, there is this great presentation, the benefits presentation. But here's the portal with the samples and videos. So, and there, when it comes to samples, there's lots of samples. There's articles on how to, replacing VBA, creating custom fields, the must-have customizations like the customer and vendor tracking, the SQL search lookups, and a new one is the obscuring bank detail or bank account numbers, which is actually a requirement from NACHA for ACH transactions. So the requirements specifically if you do a lot of transactions, but it's good practice if you just do any transactions.
Dave, do you have new things in the works?
There is new stuff in build 29. I suppose a lot of what's in build 29, which is what I've been demonstrating, is a consolidation of the existing functionality. So there is bits in here that I showed, for example, in the automatic logout functionality, the additional 2 levels and the out of hours section, that's new. If you're working in the developing side of things and you're working on projects, I've now got right-click menus on here. I can show or turn on triggers one by one here. There's lots of things that just make life a lot easier. I can multi-select and then mark all selected and perform actions on multi-selected things. So there is a heap of additional functionality that I didn't have before. There is some new stuff coming in what will be build 30, but I've got to get build 29 out. Build 30, I'm actually planning an entire new module.
Oh, okay. So 29 will be out. Is it available now or will it be out?
It's available if you want to get on the beta program. Basically, the only thing that's missing at the moment is the manual has not been updated. So the manual that we currently have, so if I press F1, I can open the manual. It's 592 pages. It's going to be way over 600 by the time I'm done updating it for build 29, because this is actually, it says build 29 there, but this is not the final build 29 manual yet.
Hey, Dave, how many clients do you guys have using GP Power Tools?
I don't know the exact number, but it's somewhere between, I think it's about 1,500 customers or something. There's quite a lot.
Is there a typical type of client size by number of users, or what type of clients utilize these GP Power Tools?
Everybody.
Everybody.
It is it has value for every single customer. If you show them what we've just seen here, I'll be very surprised if they can turn around and say that they wouldn't use any of it. So, I mean, the color coding, the window position memory, all of the usability things, they might not necessarily think they're going to use developer tools, but then with the free samples, having the SQL search lookups, having tracking of customer and vendor changes, plus all the other things and what they've, self-service scripts, anything they want, they'll be able to do it. The pricing does not take into account, or it doesn't care about how many users you have or how many companies you have. It's per system. And it's just a low annual price for the subscription. That's one of the things is I know I am selling this way too cheap for what it's capable of doing. The reason I'm doing that is I want to make it a no-brainer. So,
okay.
Yeah, every one of your customers, every customer
tool.
should have this.
Do partners get a free copy?
Yes.
Partners get a free copy. In fact, you've already got one. Just install it on your system with the your company's keys in GP, and it will automatically give you an NFR keys.
Thank you. We appreciate that. I didn't know.
Yeah, and that's the same for any of our products because we've got so the Visual Studio Integration Toolkit, which is really good for Visual Studio developers, but it also can be used by Power Tools. So I can add items. It's one of its purposes is adding items onto menus. So with Power Tools, I can actually add something directly onto a menu and then make it run a script. So, you know, those self-service scripts that we had, I could actually add it straight onto one of the menus. You know, we could go into sales and I could add a script, you know, right down here, add another entry that runs some code.
That's
But to
awesome.
to do that, you need the Visual Studio Integration Toolkit, which is free. That's my gift to the GP community. And it's been free since I first developed it back in version 9.
Well, I know I have learned a lot today. And this is Diane. I'm the GP practice director here at Turnkey. And for all of you listening, especially you IT gurus that have to do maintenance and support GP, this thing would be phenomenal for you.
So one thing I didn't point out, and I should point this out quickly because build 29 does this automatically on install now, but if you've got a high resolution monitor and your GP is going really small when you log in, that's because GP doesn't know how to scale properly. GP Power Tools has the settings to control that you need to turn these two settings on and make sure that this is on default size. And the thing is that with you can go into the Dexter window and do it manually in build 28, which is what's out there. But build 29, during the install, it basically says, if these settings aren't already in place, just put them in place. So just installing the new version of Power Tools will fix that problem for you.
That right there is awesome and worth I'm not kidding. I can't tell you how many blind people there are in the world of GP. I'm one of them. So
yeah. So that will
that
basically mean it'll honor the DPI setting that you've got. So yeah, and I mean, with the color schemes, you can actually, if I've actually got a theme in here, which is a high contrast theme for accessibility. There's a high contrast color theme. And you can actually turn that on for a particular user. So normally users are on a per company basis, but you can actually say, I want to be able to select things on a per user basis. So, and I don't know if any of you have got the binary stream multi-entity management. I don't have it installed on this version, but the color schemes work with the default entity in binaries streams multi-entity management. So even if you don't have companies, when you change your default entity, the colors can change.
Nice. Hey, Dave, is your solution when you buy the Power Tools, is that backwards compatible with all earlier versions of Dynamics GP? Like GP 2013, 2015?
Yeah, it basically 2010 onwards.
Okay.
And on my website for versions 8, 9, and 10, you can still download the support debugging tool.
Hey,
but the functionality has grown. I mean, the product is probably 3 or 4 times bigger than it was when the support debugging tool existed.
Here's another question. Does your GP Power Tools help with Management Reporter in any capacity at all?
No, it's all inside GP.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So I don't know. I mean,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you need something updated in SQL automatically that would help Management Reporter, it could do that because you can trigger on any event. So I don't know if you create a new account and you want to update something automatically into Management Reporter tables, it could do that. So I mean, it doesn't have anything specific for Management Reporter, but because of the fact is it's a development tool as well, you can develop anything.
Okay.
I was going to ask if you have anything else for other versions like BC and F&O.
Nope, this is GP only. a lot of what I've done here is not relevant for other products.
Right. Okay. I thought so, but I wanted to ask just in case somebody's interested.
Yeah, I mean, you might not like me saying this, but there's no reason to leave GP if it's satisfying your needs.
Oh, no, we're definitely on team GP. We're not
Cool.
leaving GP. I don't care who says it's going away. I won't believe them.
It's not going away. So
No.
I've written lots of articles on it. It's not going away. Yeah, so, if it's still handling your requirements, it definitely should stick with it. I mean, still be aware of what's out there, but don't get fooled into or scared into changing.
No, you guys move if you want to, but not because you have to. You don't.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
I'm glad that you say that to your customers, because not all partners say that.
Oh no, we love our customers. GP is our basis and we will always have it. So I just want to reassure everyone that there's no need to even panic or start thinking about down the line yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you'll ever have to.
So something that's actually quite interesting is there is still a really active and large ISV community. There's myself, but there's a lot of other ISVs that are putting a lot of effort into GP. And if there's something that you think you can't do, you'll be able to either develop it with some custom code, or you're going to be able to find an ISV who's already written it for you.
And they'll continue writing for GP. It's not like the ISV community is just going to drop GP. They're not. There may be some, but the majority of them and the good ones won't.
I hope I get included in that good ones list.
You are, because you're here, Dave. You are our first call, bud. And who can beat the accent? I mean, seriously.
I don't have an accent. You guys do.
No, I don't. Your ears are having a problem. So anyway, okay, well, I'll shut up now and let Thomas take it back. And we certainly appreciate you.
Cool.
Yeah, great job, Dave. I was really impressed with your presentation. This is Mike again at Turnkey.
Cool. I will. Oh, you've already done it. I was going to say I'll stop sharing, but you've taken control.
We tend to do that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we appreciate it a lot, Dave. And we're going to take a 15-minute break, and we will be back at 10:30 Central Time with Mona Goodwin. All right.
Good night, everybody. I'm going to go and get some sleep.
Yeah,
right.
You do that. Thank you so much for putting yourself out.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
See everybody at 10:30.